of times have I gone up against the Hypocritical?
Fucking silly wankers!
What's that, dear?
Right, Paul God, Coppola, Amy.
Silly wankers!
Actually, this is a live feed I'm watching. Hell, I'm putting up the wrong little sign there. You come down and who goes up? You go up. Yeah, there you go. Because this is a live feed. Oh, it was a live feed. They went offline. Oh dear. You go see what happened. Let me go and see. This sounds weird. They went offline. I wonder if they got sniped or something. Let's see. Sorry about that. No problem. Let's see, Beni. Come on, Beni. What's going on, man? Live now. Videos. Watched. Videos. Live now. But I bet you, yeah. Started. I wonder if I haven't been blocked. How can that be? Offline. I don't know. Maybe something happened to Beni's Hangout. I don't even know if I'm streaming live anymore. Oh yes, I am. Guess we don't need to watch this, right? But I will be searching for a response of some sort somewhere. So just give me a moment, please. Thank you. Talk amongst yourselves and let me know what Donald Trump's up to, will you? Hey, I haven't caught up on most of my usual stuff that I try and catch up on. So let me see if there's something short for you guys to listen to while I poke around a little bit. sure.
Alright, YouTube, I thought it was time to talk about how the legacy media was absolutely hilarious to me, specifically on the token that since Trump has been elected, that is, he's the president-elect now, he'll be taking office, the press has whined and whined every time he ditches them. Like, he goes out to eat a steak dinner with his family. He doesn't want 1,000 cameras flashing in his face, because, I mean, he hasn't even taken the oath of office yet. He's probably trying to enjoy the last few days of his freedom. And they just whine and complain, oh, it's worse than anything. He's not giving us enough access. He's not transparent enough. Yeah, like Obama, that smiles for the cameras every single time that the media is around. Yeah, he's really transparent. I'm sure that that's an indicator of how things will turn out. Actually, maybe it's total opposites. Obama will smile for the camera and answer everyone's question. Meanwhile, his administration is as opaque as a block of marble. Maybe Trump will be the reverse. He's not going to talk to the press, but he'll actually try to let people know what's going on once in a while. It's funny to see the hypocrisy that the same media outlets that spent literally months doing almost nothing other than talk about how Trump was a rapist, a pervert, he had no idea what he was doing, his entire campaign was a sham, maybe he didn't even mean to run and he was just doing it as a joke. The same people that spent months giving him virtually no fair media coverage are now complaining that he doesn't want to talk to them so much. Boo fucking who? You know who he'd probably rather talk to? He'd probably rather talk to people who are more balanced in their coverage, who, yes, will criticize him if he did something blatantly stupid, but generally speaking understood what he was doing to some degree, didn't constantly crucify him based on every rumor that happened to come out. We had an election that for the last 2 months of the actual campaign was marked by scandal after scandal being ignored when it involved Hillary Clinton until the very, very last bit with Comey and the very, very last WikiLeaks dumps. The legacy media completely ignored everything she did wrong. They constantly rambled about how great it would be that she happens to be female while in office, because they all thought that it was going to be a shoo-in. They thought it was a done deal. They talked about how it was so wildly unlikely that Trump would win, and if he did, all hell would break loose. As soon as he was, when the markets temporarily went down, and now they're at like record highs, which is funny. By the way, that's not an indicator that Trump's, necessarily going to be like the fiscal savior or something. It's just a natural rebound after they sort of did collapse there for a day. All of a sudden they started talking about fiscal Armageddon. Oh no, Trump is going to destroy our economy. It'll be worse than Brexit or something. These morons, they don't know what's happening in the world because they're not keyed into what's happening in the world. They just sit there and they read from a teleprompter and they have staffers feed them their lines. I don't blame Trump for not wanting to talk to them. If I were Trump, I'd withhold it for a while longer. I'd say, oh, well, I guess these people owe me a little bit of an apology if they want to talk to me. The idea of the freedom of the press means that the press gets to constantly question the president on anything, and if he refuses their invitation to talk, then he's a tyrant. That's not what the First Amendment friggin' means. What it means is the right to publish information. But the legacy media spent months only publishing negative information about Donald Trump. Why would he want to talk to these people? It's not like the press is limited to a half a dozen corporate news groups that happen to have people that can go and see the president at the Rose Garden. That's not what the press means. The press is literally the printing press. It's the distribution of information, books, pamphlets, some blog you post online, video making, anything like that, whether it's electronic or manual, or whether you're just talking to somebody and spreading information that way about some event that happens to have happened, or you're analyzing something. That's the press. It's the freedom, the right of the people at large, not some special snowflake little group that happens to be arbitrarily labeled the media. I do media too. Video is a form of media. Books are a form of media. Does this make me part of the media? Yeah, the only thing I don't have is the master's degree in journalism and a job at Fox or CNN or something like that. It's the only difference. It doesn't mean that their reporting's more accurate. It doesn't mean that it's less biased. It doesn't give them some inherent right to constantly perturb any specific politician who doesn't want to talk to them at the time. He was going out for a steak dinner. They acted like it was the end of the world or something. Well, it's certainly the end of their ability to bilk the U.S. political system for cheap clickbait on TV, which is what they've done continuously. It's not like it's just Trump, by the way. They've done this to Obama. They certainly did it to Bush. They've done it for generation after generation. For quite some time now, this is the way the legacy media is operated. It's clickbait that you can't interact with. That's what makes it so crappy. That's why it's dying off. Somebody was pointing out, oh, the New York Times had a surge in subscriptions after the election. Okay, how long do you think that will last? They were already suffering for the better part of a decade before the election happened. Are they going to rebound above the number of people that canceled their subscriptions because they were tired of that crap? I don't think so. Newsprint media is dying. TV media is dying. Good riddance. Yeah, it's total hypocrisy. It's like if I were to follow you around and constantly try to talk to you, and every time you said something to me, I completely twisted what you said, and then put on a blog somewhere about how you were a horrible human being, you were clueless and dumb, and probably evil and maybe a pervert too. If I did that, how long would it be before you refused to talk to me? Probably not very long. I think Trump showed immense patience with members of the press pool. I think he showed immense patience by not just cutting them off entirely and saying, okay, I'm not taking, the press isn't coming to my rallies either. I'm not even going to let the camera people in. I'm just going to talk to people, and I'll have some YouTuber record the speeches or something like that, just live stream it. Honestly, that's what I would have done. I would have gotten completely tired of it if I had been treated that way. Like I was Satan incarnate and my opponent, about whom scandals were breaking on a more than daily basis, was completely and utterly exonerated, to the point at which this same legacy media is now trying to use Facebook and Google to actively censor alternative views of the news, even though their own reporting's inaccuracy is what drove people to those alternative sources to begin with. It's their own fault. It's the fault of their format and their blatant disregard for the truth. It's called yellow journalism. It's just an attempt to complete, it's not even muckraking. Muckraking implies that at least some of those scandals are real. But they weren't. We had a 10-year-old sex tape, and that's pretty much it. Everything else they report on was, oh, Trump said something that people find annoying. Trump says something people find bigoted. Meanwhile, you have open collusion between the other campaign and Saudi Arabia and Qatar, and connections to apparently Haitian pedophiles and things like that. The media doesn't even touch the stories. They don't even mention it, not even in passing most of the time. That's not freedom of the press. That's not the press. That's just the mainstream dying legacy media. They happen to have TV stations and websites. That's all that it is. I'm a member of the press. You're a member of the press. If you make videos, if you've written a book, you're a member of the press. You're privy to the same rights. It's like when Feinstein, I believe it was, or Pelosi or one of these idiots came out and said, well, bloggers shouldn't have the ability to just post whatever they want because they're not members of the media. Yeah, they are. Under the strict interpretation of the First Amendment, that is the press. That is the media. They're using media, video, newsprint, whatever it happens to be. You don't need a journalism degree and a press pass to take part in this. That's not the way the world operates, especially not online. It's the bane of mainstream politics of the current era. So yeah, I don't blame him for ditching the press to go eat steak. Then there was a funny infographic somebody made from, I think it was Huffington Post, where one story was like, if you judge people based on how they have their steaks, you're probably an ignorant Trump fan. And then like another story from a week later was, oh, Trump likes his steaks well done, what's wrong with this person? It's yellow journalism at its finest. It's contradictory, it's mostly hyperbole. Much of it is completely inaccurate. The only reason why they don't get constantly fact-checked on the accuracy of their reporting is that they're tied in with all the fact-checkers that probably give them money. That's the only reason for it. When they excoriate some of these so-called fake news sites, hell, half of them have a better track record than CNN at this point of reporting things that are actually more objectively and solidly true. So no, I don't blame him at all. I would have done the same thing way, way earlier than he did. That's about all. Peace out.
Okay, so latest update on the Gaslighter Chronicles. This is tail end of an expose done by Sydney Winston and Chaswold the Almighty. Watch folks that use that term Almighty. So I'm just going to cover off some of the tail end of it that I missed from yesterday, see what they've got to say. So Sydney's now talking.
I think we should know that she can tell that not only the talk that was a little confusing,
Oh, fuck it. That's going to be easy, mate, to prove.
Cry for help without crying for help, yeah.
Now, this is the other dynamic that's important to think about or consider, right? This fucking group dynamic. I know exactly what's going on. I know that John don't know shit.
No, that's not true, Sydney. I know a lot.
He's leading it. Well, John May and now Sid.
Well, you know, so that we make it a balanced argument, I have a viewpoint which I think matches and predicts certain behaviours. Now, you're quite welcome to offer yours and your basis for your own viewpoint, and we'll see who's right.
Sydney's in a fucking lot of trouble too now.
Oh yeah?
Maybe not.
What kind of trouble am I, Rob? Tell me.
Well, when you have, or you live egoically, selfishly, which you do, there's no question of that, there's consequences, there's a price to be paid, whether it's to, you know, near end of life or at some point, particularly if you're trying to, and you can't possibly work things out, if you're trying to work things out spiritually, you'll come a big cropper, because part of maturing spiritually is dealing with lies and egos. Mate, you got a bucket full.
Send me a private message.
No.
Send me a letter. Whatever you want to do.
No, costs too much.
You made an accusation. If that doesn't pan out, if I'm under a lot of trouble because of what you said, then you have just lied.
Nah, Sydney, I don't lie. That's what you boys do, you gaslighters. You're chronic liars. Nice little smile from Sydney. Glad to see you happy.
Recorded, by the way.
Oh, good.
I'll tell you something, boys, right? I just got to work it out how I'm going to get it done. But this has international implications, because this is an international communication media that you're fucking with.
International international implications has just been announced by Rob Beasley. International implications, because I'm so important. Hey, I'm Rob Beasley.
Did you hear that? International.
I think what I meant was Google. You know, it's an international communications environment.
Ah, yeah.
And what you guys do is you screw up those communications. You bring them down to worthless bullying and trolling.
Implications. Because this is an international communications media that you're fucking with. Ooh. Scary.
Not really. No, I was just trying to get your attention.
Not me. But no, not Interpol. I don't know who to call yet. I'll work it out, though. I'm very fucking intelligent. You have.
Oh dear. I wish I wouldn't say that. But I am a good thinker, I think.
No idea how intelligent. Nah, not the FBI. I'm thinking there'll be something related to internet behaviours, right?
Is that internet behaviors you're gonna report?
Yes, well, I've already reported you to Google. That's about as realistic as I could make it. Oh, and what's that mob here? Acorn.
No, internet behaviours, I reckon. There'll be a mob, right, that are responsible. Bill Gates, yeah, that works. Toasty, see, I knew you were a prick. I just did. And I was right. Okay, anyway, let's move on.
I don't know, in other words, like, fucking get me out of this fucking hellhole.
No, no way. This is just you, John, mate, coming out of your fucking head. So instead of thinking from your head end, think from your senses end, and you'll be set right. You know, but you think from your head end. You're like Descartes, right? Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. Well, that's all bullshit. It doesn't work that way at all. Right? You think that you're a fucking King Kong, and you think then that's reality. Well, guess what, King Kong? You met super fucking King Kong.
Oh dear, oh dear. That was bad.
That's what they do. I know, but that's what these pricks do and stuff.
That's not what they're doing. I want you to finish the conversation. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't mind going off on whatever what it is.
So there you go. So he's unfair enough, correct? And he's hell-bent on, like, I'm going to fight the rest of the world before I have any fucking party.
Because I did not rat you out. How did I rat you out?
Yeah, so what that's about, you know, and this happens in the bullying scenario. You don't like being the victim, so you want to deal with it. And I'm the kind of guy that will fucking front up and fight.
Yes, Sydney. I'm still here.
Yeah, that's a very interesting comment. You just have no idea how fucking smart I am, right?
Oh dear, stop that.
Oh, here he comes, the lover boy. No, I do what I would choose to do. I'm far ahead of you, my friend. Yeah, that's right. Sit down. Sit, doggy. Sit, doggy. Sit. All right. So again, we've got a lot of take on my daughter's state, emotional thing. She was actually quite become. She was just wanted to get us going on the family thing, but I wanted to deal with, you know, two plus weeks of abuse at the hands of you pricks. It led to me going into care.
Wait. You could
What, Sydney? What?
have done it the following day. You don't work. Huh? Right?
No, that's correct. It's not a crime.
Your fault. You fucking did it. Again, John, when we get to court, I bet my bottom dollar that the people.
Yeah, so a lot of what went on, that was just me getting, I kept composure, if you may have noticed. But I was just trying every little tactic I could to just try and get these guys to fess up, to tell the truth. Now, they are, and I promise you this is as true as day, they have egos, and they do this stuff to feed that ego. And that ego says that they are higher up than other folks, which is bullshit. No one's, well, you might fill your head full of information and be able to maintain and manage that information, but it doesn't make you a superior human being. We're all the same, we're all equal. So what I would do to bait them, I'd say that I was the superior one. That's all. But it's not the truth. The truth of the matter is we're all equal. And we all have the same potential when it comes to the spiritual story. And I'm not that much interested in intellectual intelligence unless it's of some
Why did you stop? Oh, you must have been lagging or something. Well, this one.
Anyway, that'll do for that.
Yeah.
That stuff.
Weird.
When accusations come, if I get a chance to defend myself, I'll happily do it. But I'll only do it on my terms. What I want to focus on now is a really good example. Yep, still there. A really good example of gaslighting.
Oh no.
Right, you've got to do heaps to your shoulders and your arms. Right.
Right. Hello. So this is another update from the Gaslighting Chronicles. My name is Rob Beasley. I've been the victim of a gaslighting attack by a number of internet bullies, and it's gone on for 3 years and had some significant consequences for me personally. So what I want to do is I want to raise awareness to this phenomena. It's very obvious and very simple with what it is, and hopefully move to stamp it out. People will start to get, more active in getting rid of this behaviour. So, what is gaslighting? Let's just recap so that we all understand. 1 second. So, what gaslighting is, and maybe these bullies are coming to a new phase, and I'll explain exactly what I mean, and then I'll show you why I think this might be a possibility. It may or it may not. I mean, the guy might be a real Satanist, who knows? But just something I picked up, and I want to sort of put it out there first, so if they actually do start this sort of profiling, because this is what they do, lying profiling, because gaslighting is all about lies. If they do, then I've at least got a baseline that I can refer back to and say, well, I predicted this is what you might do. The other possible outcome is that they just stop it. So gaslighting is a form of psychological abuse, so psychological abuse can be extremely damaging, potentially, in which a victim is manipulated into doubting their own memory, perception and sanity. So that's the way they do that, is they simply take bits and pieces of your life story and then they embellish on them. This is the delusional part on their side. And then they broadcast that delusional reality. So there's a conflict between you and the reality. Now these clowns think, because there is a phenomenon when you have opposing realities called cognitive dissonance. These clowns think that they create cognitive dissonance. Well, no, all they create is just frustration and annoyance. And I'm over all that stuff, so they have no effect on me. Cognitive dissonance is very specific. It starts with a lie premise as the first thing held in mind of a person. So you've got to have a wrong thought in your head for cognitive dissonance to really fire up. Now, instances may range from the denial by an abuser that previous abusive incidents occurred. So you get, they'll produce a lie, then they'll say down the track, no, I didn't. So you've got a double confounding sort of effect. Again, though, it's very simplistic. I mean, these people are not rocket science. It's a very, very simple game, but it gets people in. People don't like to be called a liar. And now this is the one that I think may, if I'm right, I don't think they'll carry through with it, but may be what they're up to at the moment with me. So it says, up to the staging of bizarre events by the abuser with the intention of disorientating the victim. So I came across this Sydney, and he says in this video, and that's my last video, you can see that there, how he's, so that's the bopping along one. Oh, pardon me. So if you go and have a look at that video, you'll see where his banner, and you hear his voice, so there's no ambiguity. And the banner is about these 9 satanic rules. And as soon as I saw that, you know, because I'm interested in spirituality, and I've not heard about this, there's a, what's his name? Levian Satanism. I don't like the concept of Satanism at all, or I don't like the concept of anything evil. So I saw that and I thought, okay, well, I wonder what their premise is. So Sydney's got this banner that says 9 satanic rules. And I spoke to someone else and he said, yeah, Sydney admitted it, that he was a Satanist. And I thought, bloody hell, maybe that explains why a 7-year-old dude torments people. But anyway, so what I wanted to do first is actually have a look at these 9 rules, because I found them online and I couldn't read them off his banner or logo or whatever you call it. So here we go, share that. So these are them. I'm just going to go down them. So Sydney, if you want to have a debate about whether this is a good way to live your life, I'm more than happy to do that. But you'll have to be a mature adult, not a baby-faced 7-year-old, you know, that behaves like a delinquent. Just have to grow up and have a thing. So this might, either, because this is the thing, it says Satan represents vengeance. Now, these guys, because what these guys do is it's called projecting. So they project their worldview over you, their bad behaviours and stuff like that. So they've been trying to suggest that I'm here on a vendetta. But I'm not. I'm here for truth and honesty, and I feel very strongly that if we can get the truth out of these turkeys, I get the justice that I'm entitled to, and they get to learn something about reality and life, and, you know, stop bullying people on the internet, gaslighting people. All right, so we've got here, it says, so that's the vengeance thing that sort of caught my eye. I thought, oh, geez, I wonder, are you going to try and profile me as a Satanist? Let me tell you, I'm a huge fan of the real Jesus. I would have nothing to do with anything satanic. So the 9 satanic statements originally appeared in the satanic, oh God, they wrote a Bible. Satan, in reality, I'm pretty sure about this, isn't the real thing. It's just a story in a book, boys. But you people will believe this crap. Satan represents indulgence instead of abstinence. Well, you know, you just got to eat to live. It doesn't, just a normal square, you know, 4 square meal, that's all you need to do. So it's encouraging greediness. Greediness is related to selfishness. We have enough problems around the planet where the economic resources are not shared. If you took money away from the wealthiest people, you could, you know, solve a shitload of problems around this planet. So no. Now Satan, this fictional, or, you know, this storybook character, represents vital existence instead of spiritual pipe dreams. So the thing I'd have to ask Sydney is what's meant by vital existence instead of spiritual pipe dreams? Well, spiritual pipe dreams aren't pipe dreams. They're actually quite real.
we have a spiritual reality. Got nothing to do with the God concept, because like Satan, God isn't a real thing. It's just a story in a book to serve the wealthy, as it would appear if you look at history. And now, Satan represents undefiled wisdom. Undefiled wisdom. Well, I disagree. Firstly, it doesn't exist. Undefiled wisdom is innate wisdom, and that just is. And so Satan can't get his paws on that. Instead of hypocritical self-deceit. Well, Sydney, this is my read on you. You're hypocritical and self-deceitful, and you've got no wisdom. So, yeah, if you're following this crap, it ain't serving you very well, or you're not paying attention. Satan represents kindness. Oh, yeah, right. To those who deserve it. Oh, right. No, wrong. Just about every single bloody religious text and spiritual text always refers to loving humanity. Love thy neighbour. And the instinct we have, that's what it does. There is an instinct in humans that's not recognised by too many people, unfortunately, but it's a reality, and that's the basis for love thy neighbour. So there isn't any classes, distinctions, whatever. You just love everybody. And I love even these turkeys, and it's an act of love I do to get them to tell the truth, because, you know, they're delusional. Those who deserve it instead of love wasted on ingrates. I'm not sure. The love doesn't work that way. That saying doesn't understand what true love is. So again, Sydney, not a good thing. And Sydney, I said to you, you know, life doesn't go on forever. Time's running, and you don't get a second go at it. Satan represents vengeance. So maybe if Sydney's well, that would explain Sydney's behaviours, for crying out loud. A 70-year-old dude on the internet just bullying people. So that's vengeance, vengeful. It's also sadistic. Maybe Satan's a sadist. Instead of turning the other cheek. Well, when I saw that, I thought, you're right, that's the behaviour of these dudes. They don't like to lose, they want to win. And they're getting beaten around the head by me. Because not you know, that I abuse anyone or anything, but I just say, tell me the truth, tell me the truth, tell me the truth, tell the true story. Because they know the true story. And there's no doubt about that. So Satan represents vengeance instead of turning the other cheek. That's not a good thing at all, you know, love thy neighbour. Satan represents responsibility to the responsible instead of concern for psychic vampires. Satan represents responsibility to the responsible instead of concerns. So again, you've just discriminated against people. That's discrimination right there. And that's what the ego mind does. It discriminates. It, you know, it says that, you know, puts people into classes and brands them and names them and all the rest. Now I do a bit of, like I call Sydney, but it's not as benign and not as simplistic as you might think. It's actually a target at his behaviours, and more specifically his ego. It's a direct shot at him. And when you target an ego, you're causing no harm, because egos at the end of the day are false ideas. In other words, they're nothing but a dead weight around your neck. So Satan represents man as just another animal. Yeah, I'm not sure I would disagree. I mean, all of nature's to be respected and looked after. Sometimes better. More often worse than those that walk on all fours, more often worse, who because of his divine spiritual and intellectual development, has become the most vicious animal of all.
Yeah, but Sydney, what you're talking about there isn't Satan. I told you it's just a story in a book. You're talking about the egoic nature, and egoic nature, people make choices to act egoically. That's what you people do when you go around gaslighting folks for entertainment. Now, Satan represents all of the so-called sins, as they all lead to physical, mental, and emotional gratification. Sins, the path to glory. Oh dear, Sydney, that's crap. That's just so wrong-headed. Satan has been the best friend the church has ever had, and he has kept in business all these years. Oh well, if you like to think so. I can see where they get that idea, because the church, but church and state, again, just go and look at their history. It's there laid out for everyone to see. They are hand in hands, and you know, you just don't see the footprint of Jesus in the church's behaviour through history. You just don't. It's just not there. All right, Sydney. Well, thank you very much for that insight. So let's see if the boys try and profile me as a Satanist. I'm not. Remember the book? Remember I spoke about Jesus? Okay, so that's it. Thank you. Have a nice day. Hello, little update, just a short one before I go off and have my happy birthday party with the family. They're all here. Grandchildren as well. Now, and everybody's happy. unlike how the gaslighting, bullying cartel project me, we have a pretty good family life. Now, so what I'm doing, I just want to focus on something. So what the latest update is that they created a hangout called the Secret Bully Cartel. I can tell by the name of it that it might be a bit of a, no, don't want to make too much up. Well, I don't want to make anything up at all. There's a lot unknown, but anyway, so they set up this secret bullying cartel executive meeting. So I think they're messing with me a bit. And I'll just get, so this is the chat stream behind, underneath it. So you can see up the top there. Oh, wait a minute, I'll do the screen share. This one, there we go. There it is. Right, now, I don't know if you can see it there up the top, but what it says is the Secret Bully Cartel Executive Meeting. And this is the chat stream that goes in. Now, they invited, you'll notice that I got some people blocked. I mean, these bullies, can't pick it up. Now, these bullies, the simple solution, you know, given all of the complaints they make against me, is to block me and move on. But no, that's not their agenda. They're gaslighters. That's what they do to people. They like playing these psychological games. And so you become a bit of a toy object for them. And I've been that way for about 3 years now. And you might say, well, why don't you block them, Rob? And why don't you move on? Well, no, I'm not that type of person. I mean, if you bully me, I'll stand up to it. And if you lie about me, I'll want to give my side of the truth. So what happened was they sent an invite out to 29 people. And at one point, there was only 3 in the room. So maybe that's a message, guys, that you might be running out of steam. So Sydney turned on joining by link. So Sydney Winston asked the atheist, that's who we're talking about there. Sydney renamed the Hangout to Secret Bully Cartel Executive Meeting. Sydney's actually running this and controlling it, setting it all up. Sydney added the following people: Chaz Wild, he's one of the gaslighters. Down Corner, he's another gaslighter, and 5 others to the Hangout. Green Soul Sufi joined in. He's a guy that comes from Brother John's community. And he's a guy that just sits on the fence while he's a professional. He sits on the fence while bullying goes on under his nose. Scaife joined the Hangout. Scaife is a dude that he's a minion, just a young kid that hangs around all this stuff. Pseudo Aussie dude hanging around the group. Ooh, secret. So that amused him. Amused Scaife as well, lol. Now this is something I made. Gaslighter Chronicles Getting Down on Sydney. So that's on my channel if anyone's interested in having a look at that. Bulldog added, so Bulldog's now involved. Bulldog 101, he's one of these gaslighters. So you can start to see that all of the videos that I've been putting together relate to these very same individuals. They're a group, a cartel, and they're starting to use my terminology. Cartel, bullying cartel, and they're people that gaslight. So what gaslighting is it's a psychological attack on someone, psychological bullying, very sadistic behaviour. So Bulldog 101 added Sugar Roads and Toasted Grove 420. So what they're trying to do is get their community together and make sure that they're all on song and they have a strategy for getting rid of Rob or, you know, dealing with him so that they can win this battle that they started. I'm not here. Now, what they're also saying is they're saying that they want to seek vengeance, or that I'm here seeking vengeance. That's not my nature. My nature is that if you lie about me, I want to correct that lie. And that's what gaslighters play on, because most people are of that ilk. So Sydney added Sandra Woodrow. Now, I don't know who Sandra Woodrow is.
Are you busy?
What?
Oh, we just did the Kris Kringle. I was going to tell you who you have.
Oh, that's okay. Thanks. I don't know this Sandra Woodrow now that I've got her name. She's a new person to me, so I don't know what her story is. But being that I'm the victim, I want to know who's who in the zoo. So if I go to G+, and if I do this, is that the lady? I think that might be her. She lives in Canada. Well, that would make sense. I don't know why she's hanging around the bully pack. So I'll just put that in the chat window. Because Sydney and a lady called Lindsay come from Canada. I joined the Hangout. Now, this is Green Soul Sufi. So this is this behavioural something therapist or whatever he is. Bit of a nong in my book. Not responding is a response. So I guess he's trying. That's a really bad thing to do. I mean, if you get victimised and bullied, you know, there should be some form of justice. He just says, walk away. Let them do what they do, walk away. And I know that these guys do it to a number of other people on the internet. And I'm not prepared to walk away. Bad form. And that'd suit these guys, because I think they've realised now that they're really up against it. So,
Bulldog added Rose Patton, Trollololan, and 2 others to the Hangout. So what they're trying to do is accumulate a whole bunch of people so that they can get a bit of an army, I guess, against me, little old lonely me. Now, Rose Scafie needs you. I do same for you, Amy. So that's Scafie. I don't know what he's talking about. Sydney added St. Tommy. So St. Tommy's a Christian dude that really doesn't behave like a Christian, like a few of them on the internet. And Patrick Festa, Patman Festa to the Hangout. So Patrick Festa moved out like you effing said, you know, Trump won, you're moving out. A bit rambly speech. I don't know who the hell he's referring to. Sydney added Brother John. Now, Brother John is a Daoist. And again, he's the type of bloke that, you know, recommends that you just walk on by. You know, when someone beats you up and, you know, basically destroys your life, just let it go. Don't worry about it. But again, I'm not being vindictive. I just want people to tell the truth. That's all I want. So this is me. Hey. Only 3 outcomes. So I'm just letting them know that there's only possible outcomes because they're capable of a lot of things. So I'm just saying that the gaslighters leave. So in other words, they run away. They adopt the flight pattern, and that's that. Hello, viewer. None of the above. Beasley leaves. So this is the bullying thing. They just want to try and dominate you. They can't. So they then want you to leave and leave them alone. But they started this crap. And I'll leave if I choose to leave. Or there's another option. And there's only those 2 outcomes. And in both cases, I win this battle, if you like. I may not get the outcome that I really want, which is these people to simply tell the truth. But I win because I've really brought the truth to them and really put it in their face time and time and time again. They can't escape that in life. That disconnect between the lies that these people tell, and that's what gaslighters do, and the real story, the real truth, they know both stories. They have to actually live with that now for the rest of their days. And I promise you, it doesn't leave you. It just doesn't. Anyway, so either way, I'll get I have a sort of a win or some sense of justice, but I prefer the true, proper justice because in that, when people tell the truth, it actually lifts the burden off their shoulders as well. So it's a win-win situation. It really is. All right. Now they say some wacky things down a little bit further, and that's why I'm doing this video. And so watch it to the end because there's some interesting comments that they made that are rather bizarre. So I just wanted to make a record of them, and you know, we just see how things play out. So I said that Sandra will advocate me if the second option occurs, and these people will be afraid of her because she will win hearts and minds. She's an extremely intelligent woman, but not only that, she's an extremely good person. So they'll have no hope at all. So in that sense, they're going to lose. There's just no way they can win from here. None whatsoever. You losers lose. Sandra's word beats a pedo. So I'm referring to pedophilic-like, not necessarily pedophile, pedophilic-like behaviours of a guy called John May. That's him there, Bulldog 101. Everyone, I think, now knows where to get that video. And if you can't find it, go and have a look at my channel, and you'll find one of the videos in there has got this pedophilic behaviours. So in a contest, Sandra's good nature, wisdom, intelligence will beat this Bulldog hands down.
I say night, Vegemite. We have kicked 2 goals. Okay, so what he's referring to there is 2 stays in a mental health institution. That's me. I hold the view very, very strongly that these people are the reason that I went into those institutions. I'm going to try my darnest to prove that point, as well as promote gaslighting as a negative human trait, a sadistic negative human trait. You have kicked none, 0, zilch, you are a failure. Now that in itself right there is a gaslighting episode, right? It just truly is. Because what he's trying to do is, psychologically make me feel like I'm a loser or a failure. Well, if he could see my family, he'd know that that's actually not the case at all. And you guys don't get it, but I truly am enlightened. I know precisely what that is. It matches all of the bloody studies. Now, am I right? 21. So at the time, there's 21 invites had gone out, and there was only 3 trolls up in the. I know they're trolls because they're blocked accounts, and only blocked trolls showed up. And see, unlike them, I do something about a problem. I don't go tete-a-tete with people, and all my responses are a reaction to theirs. So they're always the initiator, the liar. So, don't talk about bullshit. You invited nobody, liar. Well, of course I didn't. I didn't say that. And this is a phenomenon that I call fizzing. .101, when he's full of confidence, makes some really somewhat amusing bloody comments. It can be, I call it rat cunning, but it can be quite amusing. So, but now he's down to these weak-minded midget. That's something a junior kid at school would do. So I said, "Fizz goes the weasel." Laugh at that. And I did. I just laughed back. Small man, small mind. So again, he's just trying to belittle me. So that again is it's a gaslighting attack. And I just said one mind, because the enlightened position is your understanding is held in common. So it's like you are functioning out, off one mind. You don't. I mean, it's not like bloody spooky shit where you read thoughts and all that. It's got nothing to do with that at all. It's just that you see things in a common way. Then I said immovable, and that's actually true too. Why I'm able to last this long against these bully attacks is that I'm enlightened, so I have a very solid conviction about how the world functions and how people behave and why they behave the way they do. And saying that to him sort of teases him a bit, because his agenda is based on being the controller. It's an egoic thing, and he wants to be boss of the friggin' world or whatever. He says no mind, and then so to that I respond sometimes, because there are times when you just, you shut the old brain down, and that's meditation. And I just said you wouldn't understand, because he wouldn't be able to relate to it at all. Now, this is Bulldog 101 again. He says, got moved to the psych ward. Ha 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 ha. So, police removed you. La 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 la. So what he's talking about is on the second occasion when they sent Mercy sent out a ambulance to pick me up. And for some reason, goodness knows why, because there was no violence in the house or none of that sort of stuff, they sent out a couple of police officers. which was really bizarre. But anyway, it wasn't a problem. Just jumped in the damn car and in the ambulance, because I don't argue, I don't cause a fuss, and off I went. I was disappointed because I didn't feel that I was psychotic. I just wasn't tending to my health because I was getting so engrossed in dealing with these people. Well, not dealing with these people, but, you know, working on them to get them to come and tell the truth. So here we go. This is Sydney. Now, Sydney's a 70-year-old dude that sort of is part of this bullying cartel, and we saw at the outset that he was the one setting things up. So he says, rumour has it that there is a dude in our community with a guru complex, thinks he knows everything. And then this guy says, me, question mark. And I said, no, that is me. And I'm actually quite happy to wear that criticism, because that's what I say. I mean, you can prove me wrong, do it intellectually. Now he means me, so this guy's just saying, no, it's me. Sydney, prove me wrong. Time's a ticking on, man. Now, the point I'm making there to him, I'm trying to get through to him. You're 70 years of age. You're going to pass away soon. Same as me. I'm in the same boat. Well, I'm a bit younger than you, but we pass away. We only get one life. Spending your time bullying people is not the way to have a good, fulfilling life. Achieving the spiritual journey is. Now, for mine, I'm satisfied. I wouldn't look at another spiritual. I might have out of curiosity, but I don't need to. I've finished the research. And it is really a good outcome. It truly is. Far better life than what these guys live. Yeah, Sydney, prove me wrong, so this guy's just echoing. I know your fate at the great passing. So I actually think I do know how things go when we die. And I got that from the Jesus teachings. Not the ones you get in the Bible, but this is from the real person. And if you live an egoic life, it's not a good outcome. It just isn't, because you've got to reconcile things. You know how they say people, want to find peace before they pass away. Well, fuck that. Find the peace before you pass away so that you can live that. Because when you get to the pass away point, your life's gone. You're not going to get it back. Wake up. So I hope you can understand from that. I'm actually trying to help this dude. Immovable got removed by police, and yeah, okay, we discussed that. Oh, hang on. This is probably the trolls ringing. Sandra's got it. Now, Bulldog says, sweet apple. No, Bulldog, I do know stuff, and I can communicate it, but the problem's not me, as usual. It's you just don't understand. I know plenty, trolls. And then I said, did Brother John's show? So what they're trying to do, Brother John runs his own community, and what they're trying to do is reach out and try and drag that community in again. And I saw Brother John stick his head up, so he might get involved. Terrible man. So this is a Daoist, right, joining in on a bullying campaign. So I don't have much respect for Daoism now at all. The Good Wolf, whoever you are, now Sydney knows exactly who it is. This is the silly games they play. I wasn't talking to you. F, you are arrogant. So he switched it around. Well, I'm not being arrogant. I'm just stating how I think about things. If you don't like it, use the block button and leave me in peace. Stop bullying me. Now, your book tell F all, yes? Your book tell. See, this is what I mean about fizzing. He's getting real sloppy, this dude. I said projecting to Sydney, because truth be known, Sydney is actually, what I would class as arrogant. I don't see myself as arrogant at all. I just simply state what I know. If you read it, you would be a good wolf. Yes, so I'm saying if you read the book, you know, he'd learn something and it'd be beneficial to him. So we're just doing the me game again. Bezo can't handle the truth. Can too. Because, you know, the enlightened person lives by the truth. And if you know any good people in your life, good mother, good father, you know, family going up. If you know good people in your life, saintly types of good people, you will know that they're very truthful and honest. Folks, it's just the way it works. It's nothing special. Everyone's got this stuff going on, just that they don't know. Projecting, so I'm just saying that, having a bit of a laugh at him. Please stand by for another live reading. So Sydney's saying, please stand by for another live reading of what is this thing called good. Well, thank you, Sydney. As long as I get a copy and then I can ghost it and then explain what you didn't understand, because that's what's going to happen. And I'll explain why you didn't understand it. So Sydney, I really mean it when I say I know the end, and I do. Shit book by shithead, the irony. I said to Sydney, do the 5 corruptions. So in my book, one of the core parts of it is these 5 corruptions that occurred over history, which led to the religions that we know today, Christianity and Islam, being actually owned by empires. Christianity and Judaism. Islam is also owned by empires. And that's easy to understand because, I've got a very simple explanation that explains that, I think, well. So all fail, Nope, all correct. You are a corruption. It's like a kid. Suppose you believe in God, Woofy. Yeah, so my point there was, I was trying to make a point to him that, you know, if you don't have some explanation like the corruptions, then you're left, the only conclusion you're left with is God. Has to be real. But if God's not real, then you've got to find a way to explain things through history. Well, that's what my book does. It explains why God's not a real thing. You can see yourself a guru, Rob. I ignored that point because he's just trying to suck me in. Sydney is doing the read. Night, boys, sleep peacefully. I did read the book. I'm a master at speed reading. All right, good on you, Sydney. Your second book was a repeat of your first book. Well, no, the second book was a short version, so just a condensed one, because I wanted to just give it to someone to focus on the Gospel of Thomas, because that's the true value proposition in the whole book. The interpretation of those sayings is what leads you towards enlightenment. Naughty trolls ringing home again. So that's the other thing that happens as part of this bullying. They ring the house here quite often, and that last phone call was from the trolls. How do we know? Because we can hear in the background, my voice. So it's probably you, viewer number one, or someone else. A short edition for dummies. Yeah. And then I talk about gaslighting. So I'm going to read this again. Gaslighting is a form of psychological abuse, right? So it's not a benign thing. It's quite a serious matter in which a victim is manipulated into doubting their own memory. Now, they haven't had a hope in hell of doing that with me. Perception and sanity. Instances may range from the denial by the abuser that previous abusive instances occurred. So in other words, they tell a lie about you to upset you, and then a couple of days down the track, they say, no, I didn't do it. That wasn't me. So the pattern is, it's all about, the bullies, right?
not the victim, but on the bully side, it's all about lies. And that's a lie is a delusion. So they have thoughts in their head that don't match reality, and then they broadcast those thoughts. So that's delusional. So the behaviour is delusional, and it's lying. Ever occurred. So ranging to bizarre events by the abuser with the intention of disorienting. So staging of bizarre events, etc. And maybe that's what's happening down lower. We're going to have a look at that in a minute. Your second book was a prelude to your first book, blah, blah, blah. Then I gave them Occam's razor. Among competing hypotheses, the one with the fewest assumptions should be selected. So in other words, no assumptions. Assumptions are beliefs, are unknowns about reality. They may be true, they may not be. So you want to eliminate assumptions and beliefs and all the rest. Stick with the truth and the evidence. Your second book, preaching yourself. No, you're gaslighting again. Yeah, you delusional boy. Your second book, yes, yes. It was a short version focused on Jesus, that's true. Fizzy drinks, anyone? So I'm just, keeping up to these guys and reminding them about these phenomena. So I'm predicting that, certain behaviours are going to happen. And this fizzing, so he's at the fizzing stage now. That shouldn't lapse. He should keep fizzing as we go along from here. Or he'll run away. And that'll be that. And he'll just have to live with himself for the rest of his days. So, notice how Fizzy gave up. Yeah, so that's a comment to a guy called Fizz. He came over to join the coalition, and for some reason, and he made a threat that he was going to sort me out. For some reason, he hasn't come back. And so, I'm saying smarter than you, doofus. I think that's true. We notice how you give up. You fail all the time. 3 years and going strong. So I never give up. You'll never meet a more, well, you meet plenty of determined people, but I am quite determined, particularly when it's an injustice. So I want the truth. So there's where that Sandra lady's not, why is she not showing up? That's really interesting. There's that lady called Sandra Woodrow. Was it Woodrow? Yeah. She came into the room. Now, I don't know this lady. I haven't met her before, so I was curious about it. I've since learned, yeah. Three years of mental health issues. So, Bulldog, this is classic bullying, psychological bullying. Because what he expects is that I'll be embarrassed by that and go away, but, I just react to the truth. What he doesn't discuss is his role in causing that issue. And it's not 3 years, too, so he's sort of made it look worse, and that's also so this is delusional thinking again. In fact, it's 2 19-day stays, or 19 and I think a little bit less, I can't remember the second time, and that's all. The rest of the time I've been out at home. I do take the lithium medication. I didn't have to after the first time, but I just decided because I knew that it was a potential drama if you didn't, so I've taken that. So there's no problems at all in terms of my mental health, particularly now. I mean, if you consider the amount of abuse that I've taken from these people and the way that I conduct myself through all that abuse, it should be clear that I'm, quite sane. But he says, and still mental. Sydney says hi to Sandra. Sandra, introduce yourself. No, stop bullying me. So the first comment was to Sandra because I'd not met her. I just wanted to know a little bit about her because I'm curious. And then I'm responding to Bulldog's comments. No, about mental. And then I say, stop bullying me.
It's true, because that's what he's doing. I wanted to make sure that this lady got another perspective. And so, from those comments, you leave Sandra alone, you bad wolf. Asking someone to introduce themselves is not harmful in any way, and she doesn't have to, and she didn't. Then I say, it's a sadistic thing you do to internet users. You ask for an intro, just asking for an intro. So I'm just reminding Sydney that he's gaslighting again. Sydney, do you know Sandra? Now, odd question, but now we know that she comes from Canada. And he comes from Canada. And Lindsay comes from Canada. Jim Barrick called him. Give up, Bezo, you failed. Yeah, he's referring to something Jim Barrick said, which was really out of context, and Jim Barrick didn't have enough information to make the call that he did. I explained why he was wrong. He seemed to accept it, but then he talks about it later on. Strange bird, that one. Don't you dare disrespect women anymore. So, hang on a minute. You see, this is gaslighting again. So I laughed at him. I just asked the lady for an intro. What Sydney did is take that and repurpose it and make it look like I'm harassing or showing disrespect to this lady. Jim, repeat yourself. Yes, I know, Sandra. Good. That makes sense now, Sydney. I love all humanity, Sydney. Don't laugh it off, Bezo. Yeah, I know what he's doing there. Got to go now, gaslighters. Now, this is the interesting stuff, right? This is the reason I put it together. Bulldog comes out of the blue and he says, remember fight night? And I've got no idea what he's talking about, so I ignored it. But, I want it on record. And I'll tell Sandra and all the rest of it. My family is here for a birthday party, so I'm just letting them know, and they're here, and I've got to get going, actually. The good wolf, you should leave the internet for good. Now, that's Sydney, because basically he's near the end where he's ready to... He just wants me gone, because I'm just, they're not able to dominate or bully me, because they've lost. So this is what I mean. This is the stage of the process that we're actually at. So he says fight night again, so I don't know what the hell he's on about. Are you a god, Sydney? Asking me, all right, I'm coming. Are you a god, Sydney? Lol, yes, no teeth. I don't have uppers. He is. What is the fight night reference mean, bully dog? So I'm just saying, give us some clarification. Yeah, silly stuff. Don't play dumb. Well, no, I don't. I haven't got a clue at the minute. But, if it was a real event, I'll remember it. Hang on, guys. Sydney, amen. Oops. Play dumb is your best beta, blah, blah, blah. Trolling you gracefully. Yeah, right. Thank you, Lord. Hang on, love. I won't be long. The good wolf will wake up in the morning with a new outlook on life. The good wolf will have raven brain. That's Sydney. So again, I don't know what they're on about here, but is it sadistic? Now then he says, remember the 9 rules of the earth. So I'm interested in that. I'd like to know what he's talking about. But again, a bit bizarre. And then Brother John appears somewhere. Brother John joins the feast, and as soon as that comment's made, bang, he's gone. Daoist coward. Then I said, TikTok, Sydney, TikTok, and that's a reference to, time short, Sydney, you only get one life. Make sure that you live a good life. And then this guy here puts up Leyland Brothers. Ask the Leyland Brothers. So I don't know what the heck he's on about, or what stuff he's smoking. And then I said, Sydney, what are the 9 rules of the earth? And if I get to speak to Sydney, I'll follow that up. I'm curious about that. All right, that's it. Thank you very much for joining in. One viewer and no more phone calls, please. Sandra? Oh, hang on. Yeah, we'll just go. Good night.